All right, everyone. I'm here with a very special guest today. I'm here with my teammate, Victoria Aguilar. I feel like I never call you Victoria,
Yeah,
though.
everybody usually called me Vic or
Just
Tori.
Vic. Just Vic. It's Vic
Yeah,
for
but
me.
my team at home for work, they call me sometimes a little strokey.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
That's a good. I forget what you said, and like this probably makes no sense to anybody right now. I forget what we were even talking about, but you said something where like sometimes you'll just be like, "I'm gonna stroke out, guys," and everyone's like,
Oh,
"What?"
no, you know what it is? Like sometimes I'll forget something or like my brain will just literally lag and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
stroke. And I'm like, I time out and they're like, look at me and I'm like, oh, wait. And then I'll remember. And then like I think there was one time I told you about this baseball game. I love baseball and I
Oh yeah,
went
yeah.
and I was like, I made this sign. I was like, strike him out before I stroke out
And
again.
people
And
were like offended.
I was like, I promise I can make that joke. I had a stroke.
Okay. Well, that's a great place to start.
There you
So,
go.
I wanted to have you on this podcast because your your video, I didn't get to see it the first time around.
Yes.
Um, I didn't get to see it the first time around, and then when you went backstage, I asked like Emily or something. I was like, I don't want to be rude, but like, why does she have the cane? And Emily was like, oh, she like
Innocent.
had a
Awkward.
stroke. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And then I saw the video the second time around and I your video and Brian's video, I was like fanning my face because I'm like, you
Yes.
can't start crying right now because you have to
No,
go on stage.
no, for real, you can't ruin your makeup.
No, I was like, and then I was like, stop, stop. It's fine because she's fine right now and everything. Like, you don't need to cry.
It's funny because like when I was backstage, the first show and the second show, it I cried every time watching my video on stage, and I'm like, why am I crying? I made this.
Yeah.
This is
It's just,
my life.
it's one of
But it's
those
just surreal.
moments.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
a real moment. So
It
it's just
hits you when you're like, this is like, that was me. And
yeah,
this is
no,
me
for real.
right now.
Like sometimes I really gotta like, I know this is gonna sound really weird, and I hope that people don't judge me for this.
Eh.
I mean, if you fine, but sometimes I lose motivation, right? We always lose
Oh, yeah. It comes
motivation,
and
right?
goes.
And then sometimes I'll just look at my old videos and I'm like, I've come this far for me not to give up now. Like
That's
I
what I tell myself all
like
the
fine,
time.
and it needs to be
Yeah.
like a good why. Not I want to look pretty. I want to be
Yeah.
skinny. I want to. You need a meaningful why to
Yeah.
make something happen for sure.
I am like, I talk about that all the time because people, like, the number one question I get on Instagram and stuff is like, what keeps you motivated? And I'm like, first of all, nobody's motivated all the time. Sometimes, like, you have to yell at yourself to get out of bed and do things. I was like, but what does motivate me is the fact that I love my life and I love myself right now, and I don't want to ever go back to physically or mentally the version of myself when I was like 18 years old. And like I same thing where it's like you've done all of this. Imagine how embarrassing it is to go backwards.
No, no, for real, for real. And so like I tell people all the time, I'm like, I also have to, it's really hard in the bodybuilding community because we are expected to have someone judge us by our
Mhm.
parents, right?
Mhm.
And then there's people who go through a transformation like I did that have the loose skin, have this, have that. So there's a lot to be worked with before we get into actually stepping in on stage as a full-on bikini or full-on wellness. And
Yeah.
to really like hone in on loving yourself through the transformation in order to get to where you are. Because I think the hardest part was learning to love myself being 250 pounds and learning what my life was capable of and what my body was letting me do. And then learning to love myself through the process.
Yeah.
And I still have challenges, right? Like I mean, we're women. I mean, we even
Yeah.
we even
Yeah.
have their moments and it's like you look in the mirror and you're like, ew. But then I let that either be my drive, but then I don't want to be unhealthy about it. But you always remind yourself you got to keep yourself going instead of reverting backwards. But I think the hard part about that for me is I struggle with so with the stroke, you have to listen to your body. So not only am I I'm a bodybuilder, but I'm what is considered I guess, a disabled bodybuilder. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of things I have to do a little differently than the normal bodybuilder would have to do.
Yeah.
So I have to like really hone on my calories, my high days and my low days and how I'm doing my cardio because one day I'll wake up and I can't feel my left side and I'm
Yeah.
tired and I'm exhausted and I still got to do it, but how am I going to do it? So
Yeah.
that means that the calories and the carbs are going to be like strictly low that day if I can't do my cardio, say for the next 2 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I give Emily a lot of credit too for like coaching you through all that stuff. Like being someone who hasn't had a stroke and like doesn't
so I
like
will say, like
put
Emily
herself.
and I have definitely been a really great team together, and I'll say this much is that even being a personal trainer, this is like a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
Bodybuilding,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
different aspect,
Yep.
right? But to have a coach that's willing to listen and learn what I need for my health in order for her to understand what I need to do is a game changer.
Yeah. She's
Game changer.
so I guess we should backtrack a little bit. So I met Vic because she's on my team. She's under Emily's her coach. Alex is my coach, but we're all part of the same team. And I met her in September when we both did the summer shredding show. I obviously was in the bikini category. Vic was in the transformation category. But if you haven't put it together by now, Victoria had a stroke. Victoria had a stroke. So I want like you do such a obviously because it's your story, you do such a good job of like explaining everything. So can you give everyone a recap of like your starting point
Oh,
and like
so
everything?
we'll kind of start from the very beginning because I feel
Yeah.
like not only the stroke was a big thing, but also my weight loss. So,
Right. It's like
and
yeah,
a lot of people get really confused because they think that the weight loss of whatever caused the stroke, and that's not the case.
right.
So, I was previously married before, and I was living in Louisiana. And when I tell you before I went to Louisiana, I was in college and I was gaining weight, right? Then we
Mhm.
had peak of COVID. COVID people either were losing a lot of weight or they were gaining
Or
a lot of
gaining it. Yep.
it was either or, right? And I
Hmm.
chose to gain the weight. And before I knew it, I was like, I started tracking at 250. I
Okay.
really don't know what my actual weight was whenever I was like, things need to change.
Hmm.
So I like to say at 250 is whenever I decided I was like, no more, right? I
Yeah.
want to future for myself. I need something different. My dad was a bodybuilder and power lifter. I was a power lifter all throughout high school, part of college. Like that was just something that I enjoyed doing. I
Hmm.
used to not always be fat. I was very much in the fitness industry. My dad had
Hmm.
a gym at one point. I grew up in the gym. Like that wasn't anything new to me.
Right.
Um, Took in, learned everything all over again. And I was like, you know what? Changes. 2 years down the road, I finally started getting, I started teetering on a leaner weight, but I kind
Yeah.
of, in a sense, a little skinny. And then I had my stroke. So, um, it's kind of dramatic because I never got to say it in the video.
Oh.
I was on birth control, and at the time, you usually go in for like a 3 month supply sometimes. They like give
Yeah.
you a packet, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, I went in to get my next 3 month supply, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna put you on a generic brand where
Oh.
they're taking off the one that you're on." Blah blah. They didn't really necessarily tell me what was going on, but they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, there's some issues going on, right? And we're gonna put you on a generic brand." Well, at that time, I was like, I have PCOS, so I was like, I've gotten my hormones in check with their food. I've lost all this weight. Like, do I really need my birth control for my cyst? Like, maybe I can go without it.
Right.
And woke up and I could barely walk and talk. I wasn't able to feel anything on my left side
So
of my
you
body.
cut off cold turkey from the birth control?
Yeah.
Like you didn't take the generic?
No, I
Okay.
that was like, I'm not gonna do it. Well,
Okay.
they don't teach you that you're supposed to be like, okay, and don't quote me on this, anybody that's watching, but you're supposed to like take it and then have a day off and then take it again. Like you're
Like
supposed to
wean yourself off of
wean
it.
yourself off of it. Like any other
Okay.
medication that is
Yeah, they
controlled
don't they
hormone.
don't teach you that
No, no,
stuff. For
no.
some people it might be common knowledge. For me it wasn't. Like I don't for Victoria it wasn't.
It definitely was not for me. But little did I know that I had already had a blood clot in my side, and I was having issues like pain in my leg, but I thought it's because I was working out and like,
All right. Yeah.
right, like I didn't think
Could be
anything else,
anything. Yeah.
right? I'm 20 something years old. I'm mid 20s. Like, what are the odds of me having like an actual issue?
Yeah.
Right. I just changed my life. I lost over 100 pounds.
Right.
So then after the stroke, I barely ate. I didn't have an appetite. Well, first off, swallowing was just hard. And then
Mm-hmm.
So people don't think about it. Even though I'm not extreme, like extreme working out whenever I'm doing rehab, um, you're still working your body to an extreme. So my heart rate is elevated the entire time. I might not be
Sure.
doing as much, but I'm having 135 to 145 for a whole hour and a half, 2 hours. So
Yeah.
technically I'm burning calories as we
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
essentially, and not actually eating a lot. So I got really, really thin to the point where like I almost felt like I looked sickly.
Yeah. Well, you kind of were sickly.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah.
so
Essentially. But and I remember they were asking, what are your goals? I was like, I just want to walk my dogs. I
yeah.
just want to be able to cook again for myself. I just want to be able to shower without a shower chair. I was like, I just want a life again. I was like, but more importantly, I want to get in the gym. I want to go back to the gym.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we can work on that eventually down the road. I'm like, no, I want to start doing it now. So like I would go and I have some old videos, but it was like essentially me trying to pick up the barbell again, me learning how to wrap my hand around a kettlebell,
Right.
things like that. And still to this day, I need assistance. Like I have like good days and bad days.
Right.
So sometimes I'll have like equipment that helps me adapt to lifting,
Oh.
which is really nice. I don't showcase that enough, and I'm gonna start trying to do that a little bit more
Yeah, I feel like people don't know that that's
awareness.
accessible to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I just feel like there's a lot of people who are like, you just look so fine. You look like you've never gone through. Like, there's other stroke survivors out there that are like, how did you do it? And I'm like, girl, I still struggle.
Yeah.
Like, there's days that I can barely walk and talk. Still, like, I wake up and I'm like, even talking
Yeah.
takes a lot out of me. So, like, I
Yeah.
just, yeah. So, essentially, that's how I had my stroke. I had a hole in my heart. I didn't know this. I had a hole in my heart. It's so tiny, but that's where the blood clot went in through. So, they literally said, they pretty much called it a perfect storm.
Oh,
This
great.
wasn't supposed to happen. And it wasn't supposed to be as bad as it was.
Great.
And then I started working and I'm working and working, and they were like, you need to, come to the realization that you're not going to be the old you again. So I have to really, and I still struggle with this of like accepting the new me.
Yeah.
And you hear like a lot of people who have strokes or they go through something like a brain injury,
Hmm.
they're never going to be their old self again.
Hmm.
It's something that you're really like, you got to grasp. And sometimes it just leaves you and you got to
Yeah.
grasp again because it's really hard.
Yeah.
Um, but for the most part, um, I've just had to like relearn everything and accept my life and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle, but at the end of the day, like they told me, I'm not going to be 75% 2 years out or even close to being 75% 2 years out. And I just did my evaluation. I'm at 82.
Let's
So
go.
to beat statistics, I don't take no for an answer.
Uh-huh.
So,
Mindset's so huge that like you could have sat down and been like, I'm never gonna be the same. And then just sit down and feel sorry for yourself.
well, a lot of people do. And
Yeah.
that's why I like to be a voice out there. And it's like, hey, I get it. Sometimes there's injuries, like brain injuries that are like pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
You have to expect like, but be happy for
Yeah.
what you can do, if that, like, and just tackle what's given and like
Hmm.
with it,
Yeah.
right? I was very fortunate and very blessed to have where I'm at now. And I tell people all the time because they're like, I just don't want to do it anymore. And I was warned not to go on the Facebook like support groups.
Oh,
They could either be like really good or
oh,
like
really bad.
really bad. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of negativity and you can easily just get sunken in there. And so that's why I just keep on being a voice of, and that's why I say what I do and what I say, because people, and it's gonna sound harsh. And please, anybody who is listening, do not get offended and take this with a grain of salt, but also take it to heart. Is that no matter what we go through, like emotionally, physically, mentally, you're either gonna be a survivor or a victim of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you choose, whatever mentality you bring to the table is going to determine your outcome,
Yep.
right? So, like, we can either be a pity party and be sad and never see results or never move forward with our lives, or we're going to find the brighter side of things and have that light and really focus on appreciating what we do have and then
Yeah.
move with it and go forward. So,
I'm so big on that. And like I sometimes I'm a little intense and I feel like I can be a little I don't want to say harsh or like cold, but like I've had to come to terms like just dealing with like depression and anxiety in myself and like my mental health. Like life goes on. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like life goes on, and although we all have different experiences and you're totally entitled to like what your experiences are, everybody goes through some sort of something. And if we all decided to take it and like make it the worst, like let it destroy us, then
We'd be
like what
SOL. All of us would be SOL.
yeah, there would just be no more. Like, yeah, that's it.
I just feel like a lot of people, I mean, I can even say that I have those moments too, like where I'm just like,
Everyone has them. It's just you got to pick yourself up out of it.
well, I mean, I had one guy tell me the other day, he's like, I was like, man, I'm just so exhausted. I'm exhausted. So I start off usually in my morning at 3:30, 4 o'clock. I go to
God.
the gym. I have clients for like sometimes 6 hours in a row throughout the thing. And then I'll work out. And then I have to do social media. And then I got all
Yeah.
this, we got to deal with stuff at home. Like, and being a stroke survivor, a lot of people, and I think a lot of people should take this method in theory and run with it. Whether you had a stroke or not, it's called the spoon theory. Have you ever heard of the spoon theory?
I've not heard of the spoon theory.
Okay. I don't know exactly the amount of numbers of spoons, but every day you wake up, say you get 8 hours of rest,
Hmm.
you wake up with 12 spoons for the day.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't get good enough rest because you decided to be on your phone or whatever the case may be, or you left your TV on, you're going to wake up with 8 spoons
Hmm.
automatically. You're only allowed to go so many spoons throughout your day. You can regain your spoons by, okay, I'm going to meditate, give myself maybe a coffee, something that's going
Yeah.
to give you more life, that's going to give you
Yeah.
a little bit more spoons,
Yeah.
right? Or you're going to continue draining yourself and you're going to run out of spoons and you're going to be so tired that you're literally running off of fumes and you ain't got no spoons the rest of your day.
Yeah.
You're exhausted. Well, as a
Heck yeah.
stroke survivor, it's very important that you maintain those spoons
So
because
you
they
don't
can
have a stroke.
that too, yeah.
Yeah.
That or I'm probably gonna bitch someone out because
Yeah.
get angry for being overstimulated or exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I look like the bad person that I don't want to be.
Yeah.
But this guy was like, I'm just exhausted. I told him, I was like, man, I'm just exhausted. He goes, oh, poor you. It was such a hard day. And I was like, he's like, you just need to work out, get over with it. And I was like, I was like, he doesn't know my story, right? And I don't need to explain myself to everybody.
No, but also just shut the fuck up. Like, what
And
kind of answer
thank,
is that?
thank you.
Like,
It's
just
like,
don't answer at all then. Like, just
don't
be
say
like,
nothing. Like, I'd be like, you should just be like, oh, I'm so sorry you're not feeling that way. Or I was like, I just literally was like, man, I'm just exhausted today. And then that's what you say. And I'm like,
He could have just grunted. He could have just went like,
well, or you could have been like, yeah, me too, man. Let's work out. I don't know. There could have been like a whole
like,
different aspect to it.
yeah,
Like, people are
yeah.
allowed to say that they're tired. And they're like, oh, your life's not that hard. I'm like, it's not, and I'm not gonna play my horse is bigger than your horse, but like I have a reason to be tired. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
make it completely black.
Yeah. Also, like, even so, just the fact that you fucking wake up and start at 3:30 in the morning, like saying you're tired, valid.
Valid,
Valid.
valid, valid.
Yeah. Especially for someone who doesn't know you. Like, if it was like every single day where you're like, I'm tired, I'm tired, then I'd be like, you need to do something, you need to
we
fix it.
we have this well, I don't know if you know that I started this Rise Up brand that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, so we work with a lot of different people who've gone through anything mentally, physically, emotionally. So
Hmm.
right now we worked with this guy. He is a veteran. He has lost weight and he had an amputee. He lost his leg
Oh
and he
boy.
had alcoholism. And so I'm hoping to get a video of him really soon because he's an amazing fit for Rise Up.
Mm-hmm.
um, Someone had told him, I guess he was wearing sweats that day. And someone was like, God, I literally just, I hate leg day. My leg's freaking hurting. He's like, I'm just fucking done. I want to go home. And the guy was like, on his leg day with no leg.
That's
I mean, he
insane.
had a prosthetic, but I was like, he
No,
goes,
yeah, but he's only got one real
he's
one.
only got
Yeah.
one leg, and he really had to overcome
It
like a
puts
lot.
things into
So but
perspective.
he like pulled up his sweats and went to go like tie his shoe, and the guy was like,
I'd be mortified.
the guy was
I
like,
would be
I
mortified.
should find someone else to
Yeah.
bitch to
Yeah.
about this, and he
It's
goes,
things you don't think about too. Like be like luckily, like I'm a healthy physically person and I don't have to, I have the privilege of like not having to think about that stuff all the time, but it really puts it into perspective. Like I've definitely had my fair share of like, oh, I don't want to do legs right now, or like,
shit, I had a stroke, and I have the freaking list after the stroke. The list has gone on. I feel like I have just added. I had pre-diabetes. I have POTS. I
yeah.
have epileptic now. I had a stroke, and it just boom boom PCOS boom boom. I'm like, God dang, how much more can I add to the freaking
I
list?
know. It's some
But I'm the same way though, Liz.
yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like I just can't.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I
That's
have
human though, you
a
know?
like
Yeah.
yeah, but that's the thing is like I preach and I try to remind myself. And luckily, my fiance, he's amazing. And sometimes he'll joke about it. Like he'll call me out. Like the other day, I was like, okay, well, I have to go train. And he's like, you don't have to train. You get to train.
Oh,
I'm always like, I have to versus I get to mentality is so strong. It
yeah.
changes what you think. And he said that, and I was like, I was like, you don't got to tell me that.
Well, that's why you're getting married. You need somebody like that in your life. You do.
I do. I do. He keeps me home. But I think it's really funny though, because he he's a gym rat himself, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a struggle. It is a struggle living with a power lifter when you're a bodybuilder because
Yeah.
the food is literally completely different.
Yeah. Everything is completely different, but the food,
Yeah. So he has like his own little cupboard, and like at one point I was like looking at it and I was like, he was for a snack, he was allowed to have what I remember was like a maple waffle cereal snack. And I was quite a bit of ways, like the way that we were separated from the kitchen to the living room. And I remember I was mid prep for the first show, and he's making the cereal, and I went,
no.
we have three different types of cereals, right? In the house. And I'm like, I was like, is that the waffle cereal? He was like, oh my gosh. He was like, they should really sign you up for the canine unit. I was like, it sounds so
It's
horrible.
just your brain going delirious. It's just
Like, it's
I get it. I get it.
man.
Living
Lord.
with people who aren't bodybuilders is hard enough, but then
Yeah.
living with like I tried and I pride myself honestly of going through this first prep and not being a dick to people and like just keeping my cool. And I really tried to like I kept reminding myself like this is your thing. Like you signed up to do this, like you know what you're
Right.
getting yourself into.
Right.
It's
This is no one
nobody
else's
else's
video.
yeah, it's nobody else's problem. But at
Right.
one point, like during the summer, I just remember coming home and I think my mom had bought like those, you know, those like Entenmann's donuts, like the four
Yes.
pack or something. Like she gets
Yes.
them whenever they're on sale. And I just like looked at her and my brother and I was like, can you guys just put it in a drawer? Can you just, I'm like,
No.
that's all I'm asking. Can you just put it in? Can you just put it off the, like, take it off the counter?
So you know what's horrible about and I finally like understand people who have children that are in prep. It's I feel like that's a lot worse. So when my significant other, when when the kids come over, I have this saying. You know how you have like a mom that buys snacks for the kids?
Yeah.
They have the kid. Okay. A single dad has no limits when it comes to the snacks
Yeah.
because they're just a little kid themselves.
Yeah.
They will have it, and when I tell you, the kids come over and they go to Walmart, they go HEB, and they come back, and it's just bundles of snacks, and I'm like, and then you got to cook for them,
That's tough.
and it's hard.
That's tough. That's the providing food for your children. is
Ah,
something that I didn't think about in
yeah.
prep.
No, I didn't either. I didn't even think twice about it. And then mine kids came over and I was like, oh, this is
Oh,
horrible.
yeah. I towards the end though, I'll say I started like meal prepping for my dad for one of two reasons. One is just he's a single guy in his 50s and he knows how to cook, fully capable, but he's a boy
There you
at
go.
the end of the day.
Don't grow up.
And he eats like a boy. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep him healthy so he can live forever,
Yeah.
selfishly. So I started cooking him things that are like, because he goes to the gym like crazy, he plays tennis, he goes to the gym, but I'm trying to like get him on the right nutrition track.
Right.
And I got to a point like mentally where I was like, if I can't eat this type of food, somebody else better. Like I see this
Oh no,
recipe on
for real,
Instagram.
for real. Like I was like at one point I was having my coworkers describe the taste
Yeah.
of food. I was like, okay, but are we dealing with like crunchiness? Is this salty
Yeah.
sweet? Are we having, can you describe the aroma for you? Like, what are you feeling? And they're like, I'm just eating. I'm like, no,
No.
that's not enough. I
No,
need you
you're
to
not. No, you're not.
I need you to do something more. Like my dad, he's a pretty buff guy. Like he's a beefy guy.
Hmm.
His, sorry, Dad, if you're watching this, his eating regimen sucks.
Yeah, dude, they're boys.
Sucks. And I'm like,
I
how
know
is
my dad's
it
listening
you
to
have
this.
so much muscle, yet he has the you know the Ronnie Coleman tummy, where
Yeah.
it's like they bulky, but the tummy's real hard, and but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
muscle at the same
It's
time.
all ab, but it's like,
That
well, it's,
I don't even know. I don't even know. The Ronnie Coleman tummy. That's what I call it. And I'm just like, and it's because he eats 6 tortillas in a sitting. And I'm like, you can't be eating 6 tortillas.
no.
Is it meat
Tortillas
ingredients?
are not very like macro friendly unless you get the low carb ones. Like,
And then that is
you,
it.
yeah,
Okay. You did you go to HEB while you were here?
I did.
Did you
I
get to
did.
experience the buttery HEB tortillas that they make every morning fresh?
No, I didn't because I went at 10 p.m. at night or
Okay,
something like
sounds to
that.
me like you need to come back to Texas, or I just need to send you some because they are immaculate. I'm just like,
Uh, I didn't get to like so I went to HEB because I needed I don't know I forgot what I needed. And then I was like, "Oh, let me go there because I heard about their flavored almond butters or nut
what
butters."
like the big thing for you guys? Anybody who came out of state who was
Yeah.
there, when I tell you, y'all emptied them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I did. I
Now,
did.
fun fact, you know what's really hard about dieting for me or
What?
like eating is that I'm allergic to almonds.
Oh, that
So, you know,
sucks.
like everything's like almond this, almond that, cut this, almond this, almond. No.
The thing is though, like maybe it might be for the best actually, because I started getting like I got a craving for peanut butter, almond butter, like all that stuff towards the end of prep, where I
And
was
you're like,
like,
oh, it's almond, I can have it.
yeah, but it's just so like it's so not optimal when you only get X amount of calories a day, and
And
it's
so
like,
much fat throughout the
yeah,
day.
like oh God, like Alex was so good, and he gave me peanut butter for my last like my fats were basically like the fat of one egg and like peanut butter at night.
I think the first show I was so miserable of eating. And I was expecting not to eat my first show. And Emily had me eating a shit ton. I was like,
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
we doing? I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah.
She's like, you gotta eat. And I was so tired. I rest. I have a thing about my food touching, like certain like things, just like I guess like wet green beans going into like my rice and making my rice
I
taste.
understand.
Like I just don't like certain things.
Yeah.
Okay, if things are meant to be together, okay, fine. If you're making me eat them and taste them, fine. I'll do that. I'm gonna be a big girl. I'll
Hmm.
try. But if I can't do it, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But you need to tell me. It got to the point where I was so upset that like I started mixing my peanut butter with my rice.
Oh, people do that.
I
People,
do it now.
yeah, I've never tried it because I've just never been given like that meal by Alex, but we have like do you guys have like a separate like a group me for like Emily's
Yes.
clients? So
Yeah.
we have one with Alex's clients, and people all the time are sending pictures of like their chicken and peanut butter, and everyone's like, "That's the best shit ever."
Yeah, no, no, but yes. Towards
But
the end,
you know
yes.
what though? Like then I thought about it too, and I was like, "That's like what Thai food is, kind of, kind
I
of."
mean, essentially, no, yeah, I like Thai food.
Yeah.
If, you think about it, pad Thai, it's like peanut
Yeah,
butter,
it's peanut butter and
right?
the peanut
Oyster
sauce on
sauce.
like the
Yeah,
salad.
and you do all the dipping. It's
Yeah.
great. But rice and chicken, I can't do it
You
anymore.
know what? Yeah, I haven't tried it, and for me, peanut butter is more of like a sweet thing.
Yeah.
But during my peak weeks, Alex gives me like basically all I eat is rice and honey, and that shit is so good.
Amazing. You're like, this is it. This is
So,
the
so good. It has no business like being. I've been
It's
telling all
amazing
my
what
friends,
we allow ourselves. Whenever I finally had honey towards the end, I was like, because I'm a big sweet person, and I
me
was like,
too.
oh, diabetes never tasted so good.
Yeah.
It's just like,
The
yes,
straight honey to the mouth.
yes.
You're like, this is like kind of sickening a little bit, but at the same time, like
I'm
sugar.
here for it. Well, Emily had tried this honey, and it's like a Central Market or whatever at HEB, and I like it because they use honey located in this area.
That's what I got from HEB.
So I got the mesquite one, so it has I don't know,
Oh,
is
like
it
a smoky.
like a smoky? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't. It has its own nice little flavor. Like it's crazy because you can
Oh.
smell mesquite, but you're tasting it, and it doesn't taste like barbecue. It just tastes like sweet, floury goodness. So she tried it. She goes, oh, I was like, "Mhm." She's like, "Ooh, this is
So
good."
why hasn't anybody made, you know how they have like low sugar syrups and stuff like that? I need like a low sugar honey. Like I
Because
need
I don't want to have processed foods, and that's nothing but processed. But I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
so is like the Weldon Farm syrup. Listen, I'm not big on like I like to have my whole foods diet. Like I definitely do care about what I put into my body, but when you get to a certain point in prep, like there was one point and it was I think I was probably like 5 weeks out where I was like, I'm buying that. I can't believe it's not butter. And I ain't telling anyone, but I'm buying it. I needed something.
So the Emily chick that I went against,
Yeah, yeah.
last show, she's from Canada, and I don't think they have. You can't believe it's not butter in.
Oh,
So she tried it here, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "I don't say it."
can you believe it's
Like I
not
literally
butter?
cannot believe it's not
Yeah.
butter. I said, "Yeah, it
Yeah,
is."
that. So now I have it like in my fridge now. So I'm trying to use it up. Oh no, like what a shame. But I'm
Okay.
like, you're done now. Like, don't be like, now you're done. You got your one bottle. You can have it again next prep, but
Oh,
let's
when is
not.
prep going to start for you?
Probably not until like March or
Okay.
so. I was getting sidetracked and I could talk about food forever, but I wanted to ask you what, just because I'm curious and I'm like nosy,
Okay. Okay.
when you like, I'm trying to figure out how I want to ask this. How did you know, first of all, that you were having a stroke? And then what did you have to like what was your starting point of like after you, I don't know, woke up or whatever the heck happened, like what did you have to relearn how to do?
So I didn't know that I had a stroke. Like, okay, so
Yeah, like how does a stroke is when it's half your body starts to tingle,
yeah.
right? Okay.
So most of the thing is kind of they call, it's called think fast. You
Yeah.
have grouping, you have slurred
Yeah, yeah.
speech, things like that. Almost essentially you feel like you're drunk.
Right. You were
The night
sleeping, right?
before, huh?
Weren't you asleep or something?
I was. So the
Yeah.
night before, I was out drinking, right?
Nice.
And I had lost a lot of weight. It was my first time drinking since losing like I think 80 to 70 pounds. So
You're probably feeling a little funky.
well, it didn't help that I had 7 tequila shots.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So when I had my dog, well, my ex-husband's dog,
Hmm.
um, was like kind of getting on me and jumping on me, and I was like, I couldn't feel him, and I was like, I thought maybe I had slept on my left side the entire night.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I was like, I can't feel anything. I was like, get off of me, get off of me. And he was just like nudging me, and he normally doesn't do that. And I was like, I was like, this, he won't get off. Like he's like whining, like maybe he needs to go outside.
Oh,
I could barely move. Like I tried getting up. I was
yeah.
like, how have you ever like had your arm go so numb that like you could like
Oh,
pick up balls? Like it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
hey, my whole body was like that. I was trying to get up and I was like falling over and
Yeah,
I
you
could
just
not
yeah.
move. And I was like, man, I'm really fucked up still. Like I literally thought I was drunk. I know,
I
like
don't
it's
blame you. No, I don't
so
blame you.
funny
Yeah.
because like, I literally was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm really drunk. And then I was like, and I was trying to talk to my ex-husband. He was like, what? I was like, so I was hearing myself like what I thought was hearing like I thought like I was trying to say something, but
Oh.
the speech was sounding like I was not talking correctly. And eventually it kind of started coming back a little bit, but and then I started having problems swallowing. Like I was trying to like swallow my own spit. I was trying to swallow like food, drinks, whatever, and I was just so tired. He had
Yeah.
to help me to the car, and he was like, "What is your problem?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Like, was
know.
this progressive through the day or is this just like,
So yes and no. So I think my brain, with the way that my doctor was saying was that my body was going through such a shock that my brain was trying to fight itself because like eventually is like your brain has a stroke. So like there's like a little, think about it, a little black dot, right?
yeah,
Little
yeah,
area that goes black.
yeah.
All the other neurons around are like sending off fires, like
Yeah,
neurons to
yeah.
each other so that it can overwork to work the area that needs to be worked.
Right.
So I was really trying really hard to do that. And then once I got to the hospital, because I was like, that's not right, something's not right. And I was Googling and he was like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like there not saying that he was saying there was nothing wrong with me. But I was like, you know how you Google and it says that you're dying?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize I was actually dying.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time you're
Okay.
like, I'm not gonna go on
Because
blood
at 26
bounty.
years old, you're not thinking I'm having a stroke.
No.
So I'm like, it's saying I'm having a stroke. He's like, you're not having a stroke. I'm like, gosh.
Sure does feel like it.
I have no idea. You tell me, buddy. Eventually we went to the hospital and they were like, okay, there's nothing, there's you had a stroke. I mean, that's pretty much what it was. And I
Oh,
was like, and so they did all these tests, they figured it out. But once I was in the hospital and I found out what was wrong with me, I slept for hours, like days. Like I was like, I woke up whenever they had to keep on drawing my blood and I was out. Kept on waking up, out,
why do you
up,
think?
out. Well, it's because like your body's already going through so much trauma.
Okay, yeah.
And so like essentially when your brain doesn't work the way that it
Right.
does, everything's just exhausted. So like you know how if you like you feel like you're dragging along with your day, it just feels
Yeah.
like that, but like 10 times worse. Like you feel
Okay.
intoxicated the entire time.
Okay.
And
So did
whenever
did,
I was
did they like admit you when you went and you
yeah,
were like, "Hey, I think I have a stroke or am I
yeah,
having?"
no, they sat up like prairie dogs and they took action.
Okay.
Like when they heard stroke, literally everybody's head turned and they just there were so many doctors everywhere and nurses everywhere from all directions. They grabbed me out of my they grabbed me, they put
Oh.
me in the chair, they take me around, they asked me these questions. They it was like boom, 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 boom. They were like, you already had it, then we can't reverse it. Because apparently, like if you
Reverse
catch
it.
you can catch it in time. If you feel like you're having something coming on and you're seeing these symptoms, I think you have like a 2 hour window where they pump this medication in you, I believe, and
Oh.
it can actually stop whatever's going on, the blood clot, whatever's causing it. Necessarily, this is more like for ischemic. Like there's several different types of strokes. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
eventually, like you have one that just bursts in your brain from a blood vessel, then you have one that are due to blood clots. So I think this one essentially like breaks the blood clot and you can
Okay. It's
reverse
probably
it.
like a thinner or something
Yeah,
that yeah.
in some surgeries, like you like just it halts it,
Yeah.
and you can really if you that's why it's so important to really realize what a stroke is so that you can reach that person to the hospital in time so that they don't have to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they admitted me and I remember I wasn't being able to eat. I don't think I ate for little over 48 hours because I
Oh
was just so
no.
tired. I was exhausted. Like they had
Yeah.
to keep getting blood from me. And then this was at the time where like peak, everything was stuck on the freaking boats in the middle of the ocean. Do you remember that?
Oh,
And we couldn't have
yeah.
they didn't have apparently whenever they take blood, there's like test tubes that they put things in so they can move it around so they can test blood that have blood clots in them. Because as soon as they were pulling my blood, it was immediately clotting. Immediately clot after clot after clot. And they can still take it and run it through a system, but they didn't have those special tubes or they didn't have this special whatever.
Oh, God damn the
And
boats.
so they had to keep on taking my blood. Well, tell me why this nurse, I think she was from Nigeria. She came in, she's like, y'all are not touching my patient no more. She cannot have any more blood. She's gonna have to go through a blood transfusion. That's probably another reason why I was sleeping so much, Liz.
Yeah, but you didn't have anything. Your body was,
I was depleted. I was
you were
like,
near dead. Yeah.
and they had to ask me, I think there was like I had to ask my fiance, he's like ERT. So there's a certain size of a needle that you're not allowed to use unless that is the only needle necessary in this moment because it can be used as like they have to ask you for permission to be like, can we use this? And I remember them asking me, and I was like, yeah. And
Yeah, look, like you know what the fuck that needle is.
I'm like so like afraid of needles. It's not even funny. Like I'm 29 years old, and I'm just now getting over my fear of needles.
That's okay. I'm still scared
They
of
pulled
spiders.
out this big boy, and I was like, oh no, no. They're like, this is the only way, and I was like, I still have a scar. It was huge. I was
Oh
just like,
God. I'd be like, can't you guys do this when I'm asleep?
I was
Like,
like traumatized. I was like,
ew.
oh no. And then I'll never forget looking over at my ex-husband, and he's like, "This is really great coffee," and I was like, "That's fucking bone broth." I was just so mad. I was just like mad at him for drinking the bone
Oh
broth.
my God.
And he thought it was coffee, and then I have this fucking huge ass thing in my arm, and I was like,
Needless to say, the marriage didn't work out.
I
So,
mean, we still remained pretty decent. I would say it's surprisingly like most marriages end up in like horrible shambles.
yeah.
We end up on really good terms.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
so it's always good. But yeah, I'll never forget those were like those were the moments when I was just looking at him. He's like, "This is a really great coffee." I was like, "It's fucking bone
Fuck
broth.
you. Yeah,
It's
fuck.
bone broth."
It's
I got
bone
this,
broth,
like,
and I hope you fucking like it. That would send me. I'd be like, just take all the blood. Just take it all.
at this point, I was like, "Just take it away." So I remember them like asking me to get up, and they were testing my balance. And this is kind of when I was like, I'd get up, and I didn't know this, but I would like, I still have this problem. I black out when I get up too fast. Everything goes black,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. But it takes like sometimes it takes like almost a full minute for me to see again. And I'm like dizzy. Turns out I have what's called POTS, and you get that after a brain injury.
Oh,
It's
great.
weird. So my blood pressure as I stand up or move
It
really
does it
fast,
lower?
no, it skyrockets. It goes
Oh,
175, 200 in a
okay.
matter of 60 seconds.
Because
Like,
mine gets low, and that's why I black out sometimes.
yeah. So it's like complete opposite.
Huh.
Like it's like, phew.
Yeah, because
But
that's what it is. So your blood pressure that like,
yeah.
dude, forget about it with the hyperextensions. Every time I come out, it takes me like 10 seconds, not a minute.
I'm literally sitting there. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. You can't, it's like kind of,
I look like I'm dying.
I told
And she's
Alex
like,
one
"What are you
time and he
doing?"
was
I'm
like,
like,
you need more salt, bro. I was
no, I'm
like,
like, I don't know if it has to do with any salt intake at this point. Well, actually, I have to increase
no,
my,
you have a brain
yeah.
injury.
But yeah. So,
I just
um,
wasn't having enough salt.
that would, man, I miss salt. I mean, I started having salt for a while, so but I was eating stuff and I was like, man, everything tastes salty now.
Yeah.
But so whenever they had asked me to, initiate what rehab I was going to be doing, um, they'd ask me to like, can I stand on my own? And my left side would kind of go down and they'd pick me up.
Okay.
And and I hate that I wasn't. There's two people in this type of world. In this world, is that there's nothing wrong with being in this person. Is that whatever happens to you immediately, someone wants to record or you want them to record it, you want them to document. At the time, I wasn't even, I don't think I was in my right mind to think that,
Yeah.
much less my ex-husband at the time or my husband at the time to think about doing that. I
Right.
mean, his thing wasn't social media. He doesn't like do
Would
it.
have
I
been
mean, he
great for your video now.
it would have been amazing to have all these amazing transformation, like and then showing people because people were like, they reach out and like, you just look like you did so well, like you didn't. It came so easy for you, and you know a lot of these stroke survivors, and they mean well when they ask this or they say these things. They're like, "How did you do it? It seems like it happened fast." I'm like, "I did a lot of years of rehab. I still do rehab.
Yeah. And
Like
like
it's
a good way to put it too is like you were quite literally like down so bad that recording anything wasn't on your brain
yeah.
because like quite literally nothing was.
Oh, so literally. So whenever I started recording, I had enough. First, that was another thing is like I was in rehab majority of the time during peak time where there was a lot of people there and you have to respect other people's
Yeah.
like
It's like
recording
a gym.
privacy.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And so like I didn't want to get in their way. And then also I felt like if I said, "Hey, can I stop and record this?" I'm getting in the way of my physical therapist and an occupational therapist and speech therapists. Like in their way of doing their job,
I know.
right?
Main goal was to get you like
Where I
you
needed
had
to be.
yeah.
And so whenever
Yeah.
you start seeing these videos that I do share, it's because
You were
I
doing a
finally
little better.
found a therapy, like therapists that
Right.
really were okay with that, or
Hmm.
they were wanting to support that, or
Yeah.
things like that, like in that sense. So you didn't really get to see a lot of the roughness in the beginning. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'd want that for
Yeah.
myself because
It's
like
also just human. Like
yeah.
do you need to like at my lowest, I'm not sitting there being like, "Hey guys, like
I can tell you right now, if I had had cameras in my face at the time of having everything, I probably would have felt not how I like recording now. Like I probably would be just scared
yeah,
away.
yeah."
And I get people to probably be like, "Hey, this is for the best. You're gonna want this." And it's like, am I really? Am I really? Like this is not my
I'd be like,
priority.
"Right now I just want to walk." Like
And there's
that's
nothing wrong with like I'm not gonna for any stroke survivors watching this or anybody that has gone through
no, everyone's
like
entitled
that's
to
all
their
you.
own.
That's all you.
Yeah.
But I that was not my
Yeah. I could
initial.
just see how it's like on your end when people are like, and I'm sure you get negative comments too that are like, "Oh,
Oh,
you didn't have it that bad. Like my dad had
yeah,
a stroke that's
no,
so much
for
worse."
real. Like it's bad. Like you'll even have other stroke survivors kind of put you down, and you're
Yeah.
like, because they're like, it's really not that bad. I'm like, yours wasn't, and that I'm really happy for you in that sense. Or
Yeah.
like when that video, Heidi uploaded a video on her TikTok, and I think that's
Oh,
probably
I
her
know.
most.
I was all up in the comments.
It's one of her most viral videos on her page right
Yeah,
now,
it is.
right? Other than when they got Simba,
Yeah.
and I was flabbergasted to see some of the things that people said. Like someone was like, "It's amazing what being on steroids does to you," and then she went back to get on steroids to get better. I'm like, "What?
I
What?"
saw that.
I was like,
I'd be like, "Girl,
"Stay
I
by
was
you. Leave
250
me alone."
pounds. I wasn't taking
No,
steroids."
I was kind of like, "So you think I'm buff? Like you think
You
I got
think
buff?
you think
Thank
I'm
you."
skinny?
And I was like,
I don't
uh,
take any. It's like it comes with part of it is like especially TikTok. TikTok's worse than Instagram. I'm like, blah, blah, like, okay, I'm
"You're
like,
in the
keep on
wrong."
racking it up. Let's
I
get
mean,
the
I will
views.
respond. I'll respond because it's good for the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah.
But how am I going to respond?
But I'm not like crying about it
I
overnight.
mean, if I wanted to respond in a very, I really wanted to, but that wasn't my video. It was Heidi's, so I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you can't. Like, yeah.
we'll kill him with kindness. I
Yeah.
was just, but for the most sense, yeah, it's crazy. And then I did. I remember when I finally got my approval to drive again. I was really
Oh my
excited.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, but my I think my rehab was about over a little over 2 hours away. So I
Oh,
could essentially drive myself regardless anyways.
yeah.
Right. So because driving takes me out. Like so if I drive over 30 minutes straight, I have to pull over and I feel like I gotta take a nap. Like I'm exhausted because you have like a lot of like figures like moving
Oh,
past
jeez.
you and doing in my and my brain is constantly like taking in information. I get
Yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah.
Like you didn't think. the average person takes in every day, it exhausts me.
Right. Your brain's working just a little slower.
Yeah, and like extra hard just to like
Yeah.
take everything in.
Yeah.
So,
So do you
uh,
get like, you know how like, I mean, we'll all say it like we all get overstimulated at times. Like, do you
oh,
like start to
oh,
do you start to
oh,
like spaz out? Like in
absolutely. Okay,
okay.
so it's not, it's funny, but it's not funny. It's funny,
Okay.
but it's not funny. I had I remember going to see Avatar for the first
Oh,
and
I hate that movie. It's traumatized. Like that's we don't even need to get into that.
well, noise, loud noises, still over. I
Yes.
have these things called loops that my fiance had bought me. He did research, and I have them at work. I'll have them in an area. I had them when I was at the bodybuilding show. Like I had them in
Okay.
my because noise and light really over. If the light shines a certain way, and I'm having a lot of noise, I overstimulate. My brain slows down. My speech slows down.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm super, super tired, my eye will start drooping again, and then my left side will kind of go numb. So,
Ugh.
like my hands being, like my palms being touched or tickled. So, my fiance, if he sees that I'm overstimulated, he gets my left hand and he'll like try to tickle my palm. And if I
Yeah.
react, I'm okay. If I don't, he's just like, we need to go.
Yeah.
You obviously have too much going on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do get overstimulated a lot. And I remember going to Avatar and seeing it for the right after. It was my first movie since the stroke. And
Hmm.
I had sunglasses on, I had my headphones on, I had my blanket because even like the cold, I get cold
Yeah.
now. And I was like ready. And I was just so excited. I was so excited that I was like overstimulating. And I was like, at the time, I don't do this anymore, but I was like shaking because I was so
Shaking, yeah.
overstimulated. I was like ready and excited. It was bad. But I don't do that anymore. Sometimes I
Growth.
have like handshakes, and I
Okay.
can't it like tremors,
Yeah.
but
But physically, like when you get over like when I get overstimulated, I just walk away from like a situation or I shut down. Like your body starts to like
I'm tired. Yeah, my body shuts down. Like,
yeah.
I think one day, I think I hadn't had a really bad day, one of my bad days in a long time, but I
Knock on
essentially,
wood.
right, right. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to eat at all that day. I was tired. I slept majority of the day. I could barely walk. I was it's not just the cane. I was literally on my walker. And there was one
Yeah.
time that I was like, I don't even think I can roll on my walker. I couldn't even get out of bed. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it today.
Yeah.
So I can't. Okay.
Listen,
Nope.
you're allowed you're allowed those every once in a while, you know?
But I brought that onto myself though.
Yeah.
I always have to kind of like make sure like I have to be really open and communicated with my boss at work and saying, hey, like I might have to take these couple days off because I'm just super exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean nobody's gonna like yell at you and be like, no,
Right.
I
I was
don't
just
give a
you either
shit if you have a
I was like,
stroke in
either
this
you
office.
work you either work in the middle, you give me you give me this day off at least, and then I can like make it up and take
Or
someone's
you'll
shift,
be on medical leave.
or I'm gonna be like screwed and I'm not gonna be available at all. So like let's try to
Yeah.
find a even balance.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, for
And
the
you're not
most
the type, I mean, like, you're not the type of person, obviously, no bodybuilder really is the type of person to keep cutting corners and like using things as like, oh, like, I'm not feeling well today, just to like,
yeah, I'm sick. No, like I would even tell Emily, I'm like, I'm really exhausted. We're gonna have to figure something out. She's like, I'll have to cut your calories by such and such. And I'm like,
fuck.
she's like, no cardio for the next 2 days. I'm like, great. That just means I barely eat.
Yeah, yeah. At
No
that point,
carb. But
I rather do the cardio.
I would say so going through everything after the stroke and then kind of realizing what I wanted for myself and
Yeah,
having all this stuff. You go through you know how like those movies you have like these like montages of events in your life.
yeah,
I literally kind of like had one of those. I'm just like, what do I want for myself? What am I
yeah,
doing? What do I need? Like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah,
Like, I need to do something different with myself. And so I said, like, apparently, like, I worked my ass off. I tried doing it on my own because, I never really was on my own for like for a while. And
mhm,
I just, there were so many goals that I wanted for myself, so many dreams. And I just did it. I just took the leap of faith and I did it. I was living on my own for a little while. I met my significant other,
Yeah.
but I really didn't think dating wasn't the first thing on my mind.
No.
After and after going through this and trying to live in this new town by myself,
Right.
and uh, I had met my significant other, and it kind of just all worked out the way that it needed to,
Yeah.
perfectly. Um, and I started thinking, I'm like, does he know that I had a stroke? Do I tell him?
Oh, that's
Little did I
good.
know this man was on my TikTok page and he
Oh,
worked
geez.
and he would watch my lives. Like, so he knew
Okay.
he knew about me before I think I could tell him like what was going on with me.
Sure.
So he was just like pretty much like I was a little badass to him. And he tells people all the time, he's like, or people tell him like, man, your fiance is such an inspiration. Like she makes me feel like I'm lazy. I need to work harder. He goes, you feel that way? I gotta wake up
Yeah.
every day. And he's like, yeah.
Meanwhile, you're like with the cereal and the like
Right.
you guys are
Right.
good. You're a good pair. It's sometimes,
Right.
they say opposites attract and whatnot.
No, no, for real, for real. Like he is my calm to the storm. Like I'm always like
Yeah.
anxiety driven, excitement. He's like
He
Zen.
does seem very calm from like I met him like briefly and stuff and he
Yeah.
seems very
He's
like
very
level.
Zen and
Yeah.
very quiet to himself. Except when he's at Alpha Land. I've never seen that man in a whole like that. Alpha Land brings a whole new. He's like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, aren't we all?
He is just like in awe. He
What a
talks to all
place.
these people, and I'm like,
'Cause it's like
you're talking.
that's where your people are, you know?
I'm like, you're talking to strangers.
Oh
You,
my,
you
just
realize?
back away.
I'm
Just
like, oh my.
back.
And then like, he had this whole system for the shows when we were like when Ghost was giving away stuff and we are going through all that stuff. He goes, I'm gonna bring my backpack, I'm gonna make my first round. Then you make your round. He goes, and then you have your walker. So put stuff in your walker as you're
Oh my
going around.
God.
I'm like, not you.
Meanwhile, they had
I
so
just
much extra shit. They just came backstage and were like, take this, take this, take
take it,
this.
take it. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, sounds
You just
great.
have to, yeah, yeah, like you're a little busy right now, but like, yeah, I'll make my round after you.
No, but I thought it was so funny because like I just did the grounds event. Heidi had invited us to the grounds event and
I looked so cool. I wish I could have gone.
it was fun. It was great. Ghost packs on that energy constantly. I love it. I love it. And so I just kind of got an idea of like how the vendor stuff works, but behind the scenes, and
Yeah.
it's just there's a lot that goes on with it.
Oh yeah, I
But
used to do that stuff for like just part of being in like sales and marketing and stuff like that. And yeah, it's you show up for the event and you're there for an hour, 2 hours, you're having fun, but those people are there early to set it's a day.
yeah, I always wanted to be a Red Bull girl at one point.
Yeah.
So
I have a friend from home who he's a Red Bull boy.
well, I didn't know
But
they had Red Bulls, but yeah, that
I
that's
think that would take me out now. Like I just don't have the ener like I don't have the life for that. Like
I know I'm so exhausted.
imagine being a Red Bull girl during prep. I think I'd be fired.
Cranky, cranky as hell. No,
Get my-
I was just like I don't like so Alpha Land's like an hour away from me.
Okay.
So I would like to try to go every other weekend or whenever I
Yeah,
can.
once a month or whatever.
Now,
Yeah.
but I start seeing like how people travel to do like these events, and I did it for the Rise Up for the Grounds event, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, they do this for a living. They travel everywhere.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
I I can do it. We went, so after the first show,
Mhm.
I flew for the first time in a long time since the
Oh.
stroke.
Oh.
Right? Passed out.
On the plane?
I got approval. I got approval. I don't know why we were talking about traveling. I got approval to fly, like, right? Because you're on like a no, I don't want to say no fly list, but like your doctors have to approve you after 2 years of stroke, being stroke free. Your blood work does really great. You're allowed to fly. You haven't had any blood clots. You're good to go. Right. I don't know what the altitude and my blood has anything to do with it, but apparently that's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Actually, I do know somebody, side note, that got a very serious blood clot, like flying to Alpha Land because he was sitting still for so long, and then he was like he couldn't
but that's
walk for like months. It's you know what? I'll have to send you. He was on my podcast. Well, I'll have to send you that episode, but
Yes, please, I would
continue.
like that.
Yeah.
But so I was like looking at this is before I had gotten engaged. And I was like looking at my significant other and I was looking at Brandon and I went,
That's like probably his worst nightmare at the time. It's
wow, I
like,
think he understood what was going on because I woke up and he was like, "You good?" I was like,
oh my God.
"Mm, calm, calm." Because if it was me, stop the plane somehow, someone, somewhere, medic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because he is kind of a medic because he has an ERT and firefighter
Okay.
background. So
Okay.
technically, I'm in really
They're
great hands.
also like they're trained to like not freak the fuck out,
Correct.
you know?
Correct. So when we first started dating, I would call him with hypothetical questions, even though they weren't hypothetical at all. They had happened to me. And I remember one day I was like, hypothetically speaking, if someone cuts their hand and they've been putting pressure on it for the past 5 minutes and it won't stop bleeding, and they're on blood thinners, essentially, what should this person do? He's like, oh my God, did you cut yourself? I was like,
Don't make it sound like that.
I was like, yes. And he goes, okay. So he gave me a list of things to do. And then he was like, Jake, because he carpools, he's like, you need to step on it. She's bleeding out. And I was like, and I didn't think it was that bad. He got home, girl, I was like,
Uh,
and we were just dating. And I told him, I was like, let this be known. This is an inkling of like what you're getting yourself into.
yeah. You know what? It's better to happen early because if he were not to handle the situation properly, then next.
But he did, and somehow, because gym bros can be a little
Yeah.
dating can be a little hard in the gym.
Dating's hard.
Dating's hard in general.
Sure is.
And then when you add in any kind of sport, any kind of thing, especially if a sport where a man and a woman can both compete in,
Yeah.
it really does hinder that aspect.
I think honestly, like, so I've never dated somebody who body builds because
Uh-huh.
I've always told myself, like, I don't want to, like, I want it to be I rather have it just be my thing. But, like, obviously, I want to be with somebody who's, like, active and in the gym. Now I'm thinking, like, maybe that's not the path for me because I feel like guys get threatened by that, where they're just going to the gym and being a healthy individual, which is more than enough. But then they
Right.
look at me and being like, oh, well,
I think it
like,
has to do with an
you know what I mean?
individual of like, are they perfectly fine and okay with
I've
themselves?
also dated very insecure.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to get to is that like, are you, and not to say that you're stagnant, but you are comfortable in the area that you're in. Do you have enough comfortability with yourself knowing that you're okay where you're at and you can stay where you're at while I'm essentially,
Yeah. I think I just need to find like a more secure, like emotionally secure person.
yes.
That's just what I need.
I think that has and or even like somebody who just really this is gonna sound bad, but values you more than you value yourself. That sounds so crazy, but like
I
Brandon
just
was
always dated
in the
people.
whole,
Yeah, yeah, I know, I
and I'm
know.
like, wow.
Yeah. I've always dated people that like they just like don't like themselves like truly.
Hmm.
And I feel like I don't know. I just need somebody who's got it together, which I know is a lot to ask for because none of us really have it together. But like I feel like I've worked really hard to get to a point where I'm like, I fucking love myself. Like, you're
Yeah,
awesome, dude.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
need somebody else who's like, I love myself. You're awesome, dude.
I
And
think that also another part of it is like you're walking a fine line because when before I got into bodybuilding, when I was a big girl, when we had big back energy and tendencies, well,
mm-hmm,
actually tendencies, but um, I had a trainer who was essentially in the bodybuilding community, and
mm-hmm.
she would tell me these crazy things about bodybuilders. Um, they're just and they're all into themselves, and they have all
Yeah, that I don't like.
heads.
But
But
then
I
you
just
meet
feel
like
like you have
Alex.
like
Like
a
Alex
perfect
isn't like that.
medium.
Yeah.
We need
I
to
know.
create,
They
we need
no
to, we need
good
to
ones
create,
exist.
Liz, we need to create a dating website strictly for bodybuilders.
Yeah. We
But
need
not like a Tinder.
I need to have like Alex on my podcast or something, or I just need Alex to start speaking about how to be like a bodybuilder, which is a very selfish sport, but also just like
Not be selfish.
be a good man,
Be a good person.
be a good, yeah, like I'm like I like because they are like a lot of them are so full of themselves. Like I fucking love Alex so much. And he never walks around like I'm fucking
Well,
Alex
you got to
Honnold.
think about it. You got to really be proud of you got to essentially have like a there's a mannerism that comes with bodybuilding.
Yeah. I just think he handles himself with such grace and
Yeah.
he's very humble. Where
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
like
It's
I'm
very
like he's
it's
a
very rare to find people like that. But like that, but
yeah.
that's what you see at summer shredding is that summer shredding brings in a lot of those people already. Because think about it, Christian Guzman, Heidi, and Alex, Emily, like these people, they value community and they value people so
Yeah.
much. Even though they're in this sport and they love doing what they're doing, it, it really takes like
No,
the
it truly felt like this was such a good first competition to do because it felt like yes, we're all competition with each other, but backstage everyone's helping each other
I
and like
mean, even before, well, I don't I just recently started Team Reform for those of you who
right.
don't
Yeah, I mean Emily was just brought on
last
recently.
show was I was part of the team.
Right.
But before when I did meet Liz, I'm not saying that I like to push myself on people, but like Emily went to the table to go say hi to everybody and do all her things. But I was like, I don't want to be by myself. So I literally just like made myself in the little corner and everybody was just
Yeah. No, you
so
were just
we're
part
a team.
you
We're a team. We're a team.
yeah.
And I was like, why is there? I was like, I'm pretty sure. And I literally asked myself in my head, I was like, pretty sure those two compete against each other.
Yeah.
But they're such good friends. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but that's another thing is that that's the great thing about summer shredding.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure any other place like NPC, all this other stuff, it's all
Yeah,
cutthroat.
saying name like that. Yeah. But it was a good first experience.
I think I almost wanted to go into wellness just because I have loose skin on my thighs, and I thought what better way to
Fair.
get loose skin than to just grow into them.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But I
Fucking
think I can essentially do bikini
okay.
if I play my water intake very well.
Yeah.
Tighten up the skin. I just got to
Yeah.
really work with that sodium and water intake and then collagen and just kind of
Yeah. Even
really
ask like Alex for his opinion on it too and stuff. Like they're all a team and that guy's got fucking he knows so much shit that I'm like,
that was the thing. If I can raise enough money because I just don't want to just fork out the money right now because I don't have it, but if I can raise enough money, um I want to do the Angel Bikini Fashion Show in January at LA.
oh, love.
But we'll see how that goes. If I can
Love.
get the money in time.
Manifest,
In
man.
January.
I'll
And I'm like,
manifest
I
for
don't
you.
know. I don't know how.
That's a good like work. That's like a good goal for you to work towards, like f physically and financially too, though.
Yeah. No, no, yeah.
That's really
Like
awesome.
I've already kind of like started cutting out some things, trying to save here and there, but
Yeah.
then Christmas comes up and I didn't realize how many, like now that I have kids
Yeah. Children.
and then trying to start up Rise Up, it's a lot.
I
So
know. There's a lot of,
so
yeah.
there's like it's a balance. It's a
Yeah.
balance.
It
We'll see how
is.
it goes.
It is. Well, I could keep you on here forever, but Zoom's gonna kick us off again. And
That and my office is connected to our bedroom and I'm pretty sure Brandon's like ready to go back. He has to wake up at 2 a.m.
oops. Oh God. Okay, we'll let him sleep. But I can't let you go without telling everybody where they can follow you on social media, where they can like follow Rise Up, like any of that kind of stuff that you want to plug away.
Yeah. So I mean I can mention the handles and then you can kind of put them up if
Yeah,
you
I'll
want.
put them in
So
the
I have my personal account, which is Vixters with an X, Vixters 19. That's my Instagram. That is also my YouTube. And then my in TikTok is What's My Secret. Um, I think it's pretty cute because my name's Victoria. But that's
Oh,
Victoria's Secret.
okay, okay.
That took me a really long time to come up with, by the way.
That's really witty. Good for
Yeah.
you.
So, and then Rise Up. It's Rise. Dot Up Lifestyle. And for those of you who don't know, Rise Up is going to be something that's more like a clothing brand, nothing too
Yeah.
crazy, but we want to give back to the community. So that's always just something.
We love that.
It's not just about me, it's about everybody else and
Yeah,
everybody's so.
I love that.
So
Awesome.
thank you
Well,
for having me on your podcast.
of
It's amazing.
course. Thank you
And
for
if you ever
coming
want me
on.
back again, just to have a little chit chat on other crazy questions, I'm
Yeah,
more than happy
I'd
for
love
sure.
to do a part two.